Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. The markets are closed for April the 26th, the last full trading week of April, and we had a relatively busy week this week. We saw some pretty good price action throughout the week, and we're going to have a pretty good busy week next week. So let's go ahead and go through it. I'm going to go through a lot of the timeline and sequence of things of kind of how things went this week just during this market recap right here, and then we'll take a look at the normal stuff after this part. But yeah, nice little gap up here over the weekend on Monday morning, and then just kind of pull back there first 30 minutes. Nice little midday, all the way into the midday, kind of bullish run we had. Nice little pullback there in the last hour or so. So that was kind of how the day was on Monday. Nice little gap up there on Tuesday. Continue to push higher. Nice little choppy uptrend to finish out the day. Kind of the daily highs looking pretty good there. Nice little gap up here on Wednesday. Nice little pullback. Nice little bounce. And it kind of just settled in as then we were getting into a big time company earnings of Meta. And Meta did not try to do the markets any favors really at all. So Meta basically continues to spend a lot of money in the metaverse. It's something I've talked about for the past several quarters, almost about the past years. Zuckerberg has this fetish infatuation with the metaverse. It has not developed into anything. It hadn't developed into anything before they changed the company from Facebook to metaverse, and it still continues to not be anything. But he continues to spend billions of dollars, and investors kind of got tired of hearing that tone that he's kind of been saying over the past several quarterly earnings calls, and I think they are going to start to ask him to stop spending money in the metaverse. So anyways, got a pretty good gap down on the market. We also Thursday morning got a pretty important economic data point, which was the GDP. The GDP actually came in at 1.6%. Forecast is calling for 2.5%. So that's a pretty big miss there. Prior quarter, Q4 of last year, was 3.4%. So not only is it a pretty big miss from what economists and people were thinking, but it's also showing a pretty good decline from Q4 of last year. So yeah, not exactly a great look here. You can see Q3 of last year, Q4 of last year, Q1 of this year. Nice little steady drop there. Be interesting to see what Q2 comes in at. So yeah, those things led to having a pretty solid lower open there on Thursday. Kind of chopped around. I was kind of surprised we held as strong as we did on Thursday, to be pretty honest. But there was a lot of optimism going into Thursday after the Bell's earnings, and we just kind of saw a nice little bullish uptrend throughout the day. And then we got the two heavyweights basically of the week, Microsoft and Alphabet, Thursday after the Bell. Microsoft did good. I would never have bet against Microsoft. Alphabet was the story, though. I wouldn't have thought that. That's typically not the way it goes. Usually Microsoft's more of the story, and Alphabet's not. But Alphabet, well, what they did was they beat numbers really well. They did good on quarter. They both did really good on the fundamental numbers, the revenue, earnings. But Alphabet comes out and says, we're going to initiate a cash dividend, or they're going to do a cash dividend. I don't know if that's going to be like a quarterly recurring thing, but they did say they're going to do a cash dividend, and they're also doing stock buyback. So there you go. Big time news in the way of Alphabet. I'll be pretty honest with all that and how well we gapped here on Friday. We also got some economic data there on Friday morning, some PCE data points, and they weren't exactly coming down. So it was basically just showing inflation is still staying kind of sticky here. You see core PCE at 2.8%. Forecast is calling for 2.6%. Prior month was 2.8%. So still showing some of that stickiness. The headline PCE number did come in at 2.7. Forecast is calling for 2.6. Prior was 2.5. So showing some of that stickiness. Yeah, it's kind of a tough one right there. On the inflation side, we know that it's been going on for the past several months. But yeah, when you had a nice little gap up, really kind of surprised this didn't continue higher more throughout the day, to be pretty honest, for how strong that was. But yeah, it wasn't 45 minutes. That was most of the day's gains was right there in the first 45 minutes. Nice little gap up, run sideways, a little bit of bullishness there in the mid morning. And then that was kind of it. We kind of rolled over ever so slightly as we go into the close there on Friday. So that's kind of how the way the week went. We do have some big time earnings and economic data actually coming up this next week. So I believe Amazon will be Tuesday after the bell. Apple will be Thursday after the bell. So yeah, still got some pretty important ones out there. So we're basically like almost through the bigger parts of, earnings season, but still got a couple of big dogs still lying around out there. All right, VIX. Well, we know how strong it was last week. This week, yeah, saw a pretty good pullback throughout the week on the VIX. As the market went higher this week, VIX pulled back. So, nice little higher spike there on Thursday. Obviously, we had a pretty good gap down there on Thursday. Market took a little bit to figure that out, and you see the VIX dropped off. It was even down on the day, even though the market did also end down on the day. Actually, never even got positive on the day. So there you go, VIX. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know right now. I mean, we had a pretty good move here over the first half of April. So honestly, right now on the VIX, I think it's more just a wait and see. The DXY. Well, we've kind of talked about this pullback. It went a little longer than what I thought. Didn't bounce off the 10 EMA. I kind of thought it would come down to these two highs here, but it did actually find the bounce at the 20 EMA. Now, what's significant about this is since it's bouncing off that 20 EMA, if we break this, and we can obviously clearly see this is a bounce, right? We clearly got the bounce. It's not like one of these where it's just kind of like a hangout day, a small little hangout day or anything like that. We clearly see with the bounce. If we roll over and take out that DXY, the low from Friday, expect the DXY probably not even bounce here at these two highs, probably just expect it to fall off and probably just go bearish. But that looks pretty good. We do have what is going to be a little bit of a flag pattern here. It's a little bit of a longer flag pattern, but that's a flag pattern, right? That's pretty much exactly how you would draw it up. Also, if you were to look at this on a weekly, let's do that real quick. You can see we have a pretty good lower wick there. What does all this kind of look like? It looks like a pretty good basing bottom here over the past really year and a half. So maybe we will be going into a higher, time period of the DXY going bullish. All right, take a look at the GLD, the Gold Trust. Nice consolidation this week. That's about it. I like it. Pretty good consolidation to be buying on. That's about all I got. Nice little drop here on Monday. Dollar wasn't really helping it out, but I think this is just more of gold just dropping than anything else. It's been on such a good run. This is a pretty good dip, consolidation. Gosh, this looks really good to probably just continue higher. And it's crazy that we're not pulling back farther for some of these consolidation dips. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to play it bearish. I would just want to be buying any dips. All right, take a look here at the 10-year yield. One thing I did like about this, we had a nice little consolidation here for about 5 or so trading days. Kind of that's the way we left it last week, looking for that consolidation. I think we consolidated pretty good, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, kind of continued that consolidation there. Let the moving averages come up, push it up. We extended higher on Friday. Nice little kind of like lower retest there into kind of the previous kind of week or so of highs there on Friday. So yeah, maybe we just continue to push higher here on yields. That would be what I'd be looking for. And if we are continuing to push higher on yields, especially early parts of this next week, and the market is not exactly rolling over and being bearish, I think it's going to be a pretty good opportunity to be bearish. So that would be what I'm going to be looking for. But anyways, we'll talk about that in the game plan. Take a look at that 10 and 2 inversion. Well, we got a pretty good extension there. Nice little breakout here on the 10 and 2 inversion. Nice little pullback here at the end of the day on Friday, kind of into the highs. So we'll see if we're going to bounce at this spot on this 10 and 2 inversion and continue higher. If we do that, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get to pandemonium mode. If we get back to the zero line, that's kind of when the market says it goes crazy. But yeah, I mean, just be mindful that, hey, we did break the tops here. We are potentially moving higher. We'll see what happens on Monday, Tuesday. If this is going to at least hang out or bounce, then yeah, it'll be like we're going to be moving higher. If it comes back down, then yeah, maybe we're going to continue to consolidate some more. I'm not going to look through all the bonds. I'm just going to look at the TLT, because one of the things that we've talked about over the past couple of weeks is, well, what if we break the down end of this channel, or the lower ends of this channel? And we've kind of just been right on it. Like, we've broken it twice, tried to get back into the channel. We got back into the channel, but very briefly, and then we broke down again this week. This does not look great for the TLT, but if this thing does drop off, which kind of looks like it will, you got to think about what yields would do, and I would imagine yields would be going higher. So that's what I would imagine would be going on there. All right, take a look here at the RSP. Let's kind of figure out some game plan for some of these major ETFs here. What's kind of interesting, we were looking at this on Friday, is we kind of got this little top here, this pullback that we had on Thursday, and a top all the way back at the same level pretty much. Wow, what would happen if we double top right there? That'd be interesting. I also wouldn't be too shocked if early parts of this next week, we actually did go a little bit higher on the RSP and connected in right here to this low that we had back in mid-March. So that'd be about the like 163.5, 164 type area there on the RSP. That would look kind of interesting to me if we did wind up getting there. Kind of thought we would wind up getting there the beginning part of this week. And that's kind of the spot I was looking for at the end of last week. But we didn't quite got there. But we are hitting some pretty good resistance here where we've topped already. So yeah, if we do wind up rolling over and taking out that low from Thursday, that was probably it. We're probably going to be just moving lower. All right, taking a look at that DIA. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the long terms for the DIA, and I'll leave it on for the rest of them. But you can see we're having a hard time getting back through that 100 SMA. We did get briefly over it for 3 days, like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But man, Thursday, DIA had a pretty good gap down. It didn't, was really kind of lackluster there Thursday and Friday. So not exactly showing some great strength. And this next week, AAPL earnings on Thursday evening. So Friday's trading day is going to be a big deal for the DIA because they are a pretty good weight in the DIA. So if they can help lift up the average, then maybe this won't look as bad, but it doesn't look great. And it's still just kind of hanging under that 100 SMA. So we'll see what happens this next week, but just something about it just not looking good. And the same kind of deal here with the IWM as well. Kind of have, what we saw in the RSP, kind of this double top potential setup here where we kind of double top at the weekly high. That's also where the 100 SMA is here on the IWM. So if we do roll over, I mean, we do have a double top, kind of some moving averages type potential, kind of an area, but I wouldn't be shocked if we moved up to kind of this low right here, like it was 200 to about 201.5, where all these lows kind of were. That would also make sense to me. We didn't quite get there. I was kind of surprised about that. I mean, if we're also consolidating just under those levels, and the same thing kind of goes for the RSP, if we're consolidating just under those levels, then maybe we'll pop over them, maybe later this next week or something like that. Anyways, I'll be looking for something like that. But if yields are going higher early this next week, I'm going to be looking to see which one of these markets is actually not being as bearish. Maybe the Qs, as it still has big time tech earnings. And maybe that's where you kind of look to potentially be bearish, as people will then start to look back at yields, and yields going higher won't be the best thing. So, yeah, the Qs got right into these lows. Kind of was hoping to see it get here to this April 4th low. So maybe we do climb a little bit early this next week. Yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, the Qs, yeah, nice little retrace higher. I mean, you got to like a little bit of A, right? B, C wave correction. So yeah, maybe we do see a little bit of, oops, about that. Maybe we do see a little bit higher move, maybe on Monday, not too long. Maybe it starts to drop off. That'd be an interesting look. It's kind of a tough one, really, in my opinion, just because yields continue to push and look strong, and people still remain to be optimistic. We've finally seen some weakness on the economy side, on GDP stuff, but like super concentrated tech areas is what started working towards the second half of the week, especially Thursday and Friday. Concentration into the mega caps continued to happen, or those started to happen again. And take a look at the SPY. Well, not too much indifferent from kind of the Qs here. Kind of would have liked to see it come up to this low here on April 4th. Doesn't really have to, but also has a little bit of that ABC kind of correction. And maybe we'll see some bearishness come early this next week. So, alpha hunters, that's really all I got. We'll take a look and see how things look next week. But that'll be what I'm watching. Is yields, if they are going higher, especially early this next week, and the market's trying to stay optimistic, especially in the face of potential big tech earnings, news, and stuff like that. I think that'll be an opportunity to probably just be bearish. Alpha hunters, have a great weekend and take care.